announcing that you're dropping out of the presidential race via Twitter, via this letter. If the staff made this decision, I think it's insulting to the president to not get an opportunity to speak to the American people face to face. Instead, he just hides away at Delaware. It's almost fitting towards how the president has acted his entire presidency. And then to just tweet out, hey, by the way, I'm not going to be doing this anymore.
And I think that's why it has to be Kamala, because it's easiest for her to get the money. And for the Democrats, I think it's kind of a win-win, because at this point, if she loses, the Democrats killed two birds with one stone. They're already going to lose no matter who they probably swap in at this point. And they now they can have the claim that they organically gave Kamala Harris her shot to run for the presidency, and she blew it.
All right, guys, just when you thought, think about the end of this week. We don't even have, this whole CrowdStrike thing that shut down airlines. People that I'm talking to are still trying to get out of Milwaukee. And in the middle of all this, 2 o'clock on Sunday, kaboom, Joe Biden, peace out, Biden out. And within 24 hours, Kamala Harris is in. Then the Secret Service is on the Hill today. I'm going to tell you this right now. So much to get to. Amazing guest today. Bookmark this. I'm about to tell you what needs to happen and save you a ton of time, because there's a lot of snake oil being sold right now. But before I do that, I want to tell you about something really good, because here's the problem. Democrats are in charge. They have hired over 50,000 new IRS agents, and a report came out just a week or so ago saying that they've already recovered $1 billion from citizens. That means 10,000, 10 million personal business. It doesn't matter. The IRS, it wants money. They need to feed the big government beast, and they're coming after you. They're sending out these things called pay up notices, which means we think you owe money, and we're about to go through your entire life with a fine-tooth comb. We've talked about this in terms of the judicial system. What happens? These IRS guys have all the resources in the world. They are not going to just take no for an answer. They're going to turn your life upside down. I don't mean to be scary, but it's true. The upside is you have somebody that can fight for you, somebody on your side. Tax Network USA, these are the folks with the experience and the professionalism to guide you through. Because guess what? They've already recovered $1 billion for their clients. If you get a pay up notice, if you get a phone call or a visit, do not engage with the IRS before you talk to my friends at Tax Network USA. Go to tnusa.com/Sean Spicer. Full name there. You got to put the whole thing in and talk to them. You do not, trust me, it doesn't matter if you owe $100 or 100,000 or $1 million. You need the expertise of the people of Tax Network USA. Go to tnusa.com. All right, let's just set the table. I want you to listen to this. Put down whatever you're doing. This is the most important political thing you're going to hear right now. Okay? Kamala Harris is the nominee. There are people out there talking about Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton. It's not going to happen. They are selling you snake oil. Okay? Do you understand what I'm telling you right now? If someone tells you Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee or Michelle Obama's the secret plan, stop and run. I will sell you a blockbuster video franchise if you buy that BS. It's not going to happen. Okay? And I get it. They're getting clicks. They're sending out fundraising emails. They want you to watch their channel. They're morons, or they're taking advantage of you, but it's one of the two. Do not listen to them. Kamala Harris has this locked up. It is hers. I've said this to you for a while. By the way, if you really want to know what's happening every day to start your day, tune into the morning meeting. We've had this now. Mark Halpern, remember, predicted that Biden was going to drop. Not just predicted, his sources said it. We broke it on the morning meeting. Today we talked about our VP choices. All this week, it's at 9 o'clock. You just go to my YouTube channel, notification, subscribe. You will get it. And then we talk about it all at 6 o'clock tonight, premiere the show. I've been right on everything, guys. I hate to tell you, I've been playing this game. I can't shoot a ball or, I'm 5'6", but I've been in politics for 30 years. I know what's happening. She's going to be the nominee. I'll also tell you who I think she's going to pick for VP in a bit. But just remember who's steering you straight and who's not. Okay, here's the second thing. A lot of Republicans are saying Biden should resign. What? Are you nuts? No, he shouldn't. Politically, number one, he's not going to. He's going to spend the next 4 months soaking in all the trappings of the White House. Hunter's got a lot of work to do, by the way, too. But the reality is he's not going to resign. And the second thing is, why would we want to run against an incumbent? Stop it. Here's the deal in politics. You get X number of pitches. That's how a campaign works. Why are we pitching a ball about Kamala Harris or him resigning? Focus. Eye on the prize, my friends. It's Kamala Harris. Every moment we're not focused on her, we're wasting our time. Focus on the prize. Focus on winning. Too much is at stake. Stop it with the silliness about Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, him resigning. Focus on winning and taking back this country. You are not helping President Trump when you talk about crazy, stuff like that. All right, real quick, I want to play this. The letter that came out, there was something weird. Biden never answered why. Why is he stepping aside? He wants to spend more time with his family? Nope, didn't even mention that. When LBJ resigned or said he wasn't seeking the nomination in March of 1968, he had a why. It's the Vietnam War. Take a listen.
With American sons in the field far away, with America's future under challenge right here at home, with our hopes and the world's hopes for peace and the balance every day, I do not believe that I should devote an hour or a day of my time to any personal partisan causes or to any duties other than the awesome duties of this office, the presidency of your country. Accordingly, I shall not seek, and I will not accept, the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
All right, I want to bring in our panel and get to all of this. Before I do, I want to tell you about Beam. Now, I've had a hard time getting to sleep, generally speaking, but particularly the last couple of weeks because I get so wound up with the convention. But I take Beam every night. One scoop of this one, which is the cinnamon cocoa. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I would drink this all day. And they've got the brownie batter mix, which is almost as good. They're both pretty amazing. I'm telling you guys, don't drink it until you're ready to go to bed. I usually give myself about 45 minutes. And then when my head hits the pillow, I'm out. This has everything that you probably have heard about in the past. Melatonin, magnesium, but it's also got reishi, L-theanine, apigenin, all in one amazing flavor. And I'm not kidding you when I say once you taste it, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I would drink this all day long. It's that good. If you want to try the best-selling dream powder that Beam makes, either flavor, it's up to you. You can get up to 40% off with a limited time only if you go to shopbeam.com/Spicer. Shopbeam.com/Spicer. I'm not kidding. This will put you to sleep and have a great, restful night's sleep. All right, I want to bring in our panel, Reagan Reese and then Amber Athey Duke. Reagan is the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. Amber Athey Duke, the host of The Hill Rising and an editor at The Spectator. To break it down, then in a little bit, we're going to talk to Johanna Maska, a top Obama staffer, about what Democrats think about this pick of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden stepping down. But first, let's bring in our panel of reporters. All right, ladies, just give me your reaction from the sources that you heard. First, Reagan, like Sunday afternoon, 2:00, I'm going, you got to be kidding me. This letter comes out. What were you hearing from your sources as far as timing? I know that there was a lot of, it was going to happen, then he was reconsidering. What did you hear?
Well, Sean, I was meal prepping for the week, so I was not, prepared for the president to drop out. And I, saw his Twitter notification pop up on my phone. I saw just an image, and I just knew from that letter. The White House had called a lid. He was at Delaware around 10 a.m. in the morning, and I kind of laughed and said, oh, remember all those reports where they said the president was dropping out on Sunday? It's not happening. And so I think it came as a total shock. And, with announcing that you're dropping out of the presidential race via Twitter, via this letter, I think was, if the staff made this decision, I think it's insulting to the president to not get an opportunity to speak to the American people face to face and tell us that he's dropping out of the race. Instead, he just hides away at Delaware. It's almost fitting towards how the president has acted his entire presidency. And then to just tweet out, hey, by the way, I'm not going to be doing this anymore.
Biden out.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. And if that was his staff's decision to hide the president away, I think it was not the right decision.
Amber, I said last week, this COVID diagnosis, I was like, this is it. This is the off ramp, right? This is however many days CDC gives him, is there new guidance? That's how many days he got. And bingo, he hit it.
Exactly. Well, and the former president said on Truth Social yesterday that he wasn't sure that Biden actually had COVID, which I think is a thought that ran through a lot of people's minds because he gets this convenient quarantine time where he's only around his family and his closest advisors. And he has all of this time to sit here and discuss this decision after all of the political pressure and the leaks from people like Nancy Pelosi and others who were sort of that last defense against Biden dropping out of the race. And then, like clockwork, on Sunday, we get this announcement. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody outside of the timing of it, because once the genie was out of the bottle post debate, the Democrats could not go back to where they were before. And even at the convention this past week, the former president, a lot of people on that stage, the RNC were very careful to avoid mentioning Joe Biden's name any more than they had to be. Instead, they would refer to the current administration. You had the team say that J.D. Vance was not going to agree to a debate against Kamala yet because they weren't even sure that she was going to be the vice president by the time that debate rolled around. And how prescient were they? It turns out they're correct. Now she's probably going to be the presidential nominee.
What do you, I mean, I feel like we've got this week-long, 2-week-long, like there's right now between now and the Democratic National Committee is just shy of a month. I feel like if you're a Democrat, that's kind of concerning that you're going to burn another 4 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why it has to be Kamala, because it's easiest for her to get the money. It's easiest probably to convince donors that this is just a continuation of the Biden regime. And for the Democrats, I think it's kind of a win-win, because at this point, like, you're going to lose, right? You can't win a presidential election in 3 months. That's just not, I don't think it's humanly possible.
You think that?
So they know they're going to lose.
So in your mind, there's no way.
I don't think there's a way. And guess what? If she loses, the Democrats killed two birds with one stone. They're already going to lose no matter who they probably swap in at this point. And they now they can have the claim that they organically gave Kamala Harris her shot to run for the presidency, and it didn't work out. So now 2028, her name is out of the conversation. She had her chance. They didn't pass over her, and she blew it. I mean, they can get rid of her in the easiest fashion ever in an election they were already going to lose. They have no downside to putting Kamala in my opinion.
Reagan, do you agree? I mean, like, here's my take, right? Kamala's she is the nominee, full stop. Do you think that anybody will challenge her? And do you agree with Amber that that's an I like the Amber theory here. You've given her a 3-month run. She fails, and you go, sorry, kid, you had your shot. You tried first in 2020. No one liked you then. We gave you a free shot. You blew it then, too. Peace out.
I think I haven't heard that yet. I love that theory. And I think, but are Democrats even thinking that far ahead and are like, oh, this is great. This could kill Kamala in the long run. With Kamala Harris and whether somebody runs against her, I think that if somebody runs against her and we create this huge civil war between the Democrats, it elongates until the convention. I think that's essentially having the same effect as if President Biden was to stay in and Democrats kept arguing about whether President Biden should drop out or not. And so I think it's wise that nobody runs against Kamala Harris if they want to give themselves the best chance at winning. And so already we've seen this Democratic machine fall in line with Kamala Harris, and instantly people just came out and started backing her, donors, other politicians, and saying, yeah, this is our girl. This is who we're going to go with. And so it's going to be really hard for anybody to run against her. I think Senator Manchin just yesterday said, yeah, I'm considering a run. And then today already changed his mind and said, no way. Right. I think that's the power of the institution backing who it wants.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it is interesting, though, that the one person who has not endorsed Kamala is Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. And his statement was very vague, where he just said that, whatever process the Democrats go through, he's sure that a great nominee will come out of it. But he never named her. And I thought that was fascinating. And I'm curious as to why that was, because I would imagine that her name, to Reagan's point, was workshopped behind the scenes for a couple of weeks before this decision was made.
Reagan, to that point, the Democrats that I've talked to are saying, well, Obama wanted to, let's call it what it is, pretend that this was an open process and then be able to get behind her and not look like he was tipping the scale, and wanted Kamala to be able to say that she got it on her own. I think Amber's got a good, there's a lot of people that are saying, where is he? Why isn't he talking? And the Democrats, he never does this, as if this happens a lot.
We've also seen reports that Obama was behind the scenes trying to convince Biden to make a decision and drop out. And so, I don't know, maybe this is a ploy to kind of get people to look the other way so he can work behind the scenes, doesn't want to tarnish his legacy. But I do think Kamala Harris was on the minds of everybody, both right and left, about being this nominee. When I was at the convention last week, I talked to prominent Republicans who were preparing for a Kamala Harris scenario. Speaker Mike Johnson, presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. I talked to the chairman of the Trump campaign in Massachusetts. They were all getting ready their war plan to go against Kamala Harris because that's where they saw this going, and they were prepping. And so, I think the writing was on the wall.
Meal prepping or prepping?
Not meal prepping. They were prepping
good. Thank goodness.
Kamala Harris, not like I might be the only meal prepper amongst those four. But yeah, I think it was just everybody has seen this coming, whether Barack Obama chooses to weigh in or not. I think Harris is going to be the nominee.
All right. I want to switch gears because there's another big story that isn't getting, I think it's somewhat overshadowed today. Probably would have gotten more, is this assassination attempt against Trump. First of all, the PR strategy of the Secret Service to me, and you guys are the ones that deal with this. I want to just ask this. I cannot think of a major event, a natural disaster, a shooting. I don't know. You guys are in the media. Tell me what you think. Where there hasn't been briefings, right? This is what you guys do. We go to the briefing. How has the Secret Service gotten away with not a single briefing on this event? Ever.
It's just bizarre.
Right?
It's unbelievable. Even if you just look at any of these local crime incidents that some people cover, one of the high-profile murders, there's a press conference with local police within an hour of the news breaking that something happened. And then they continue to provide updates over the next couple of days. Maybe the press conferences get less frequent, but they still take place until the crime is solved, essentially.
Okay, so Amber, let me answer this question.
Opposite here.
But how do they get away? I don't understand this. You guys, how do they not get away with, hey, when's the briefing? We haven't had one today. How does that happen?
I think the media has already moved on. I genuinely think they're going to memory hole this entire thing. You have people on the left talking about how it was essentially no big deal because it only hit him in the ear. Or even going further and spreading conspiracy theories that either he was hit by a piece of glass or that he was actually involved in some kind of bizarre setup to boost his poll numbers ahead of the election. Because it's totally rational, more rational than the obvious explanation, which is a guy tried to kill him. Totally rational that you would be so obsessed with trying to give yourself a boost in a race that you're already winning, according to basically every poll, by allowing some teenager to take a shot at your head. These people have totally lost the plot.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Hey, by the way, so just barely missed me, nicked the ear. And you're 20 years old and you got cut from the rifle team, but I'm going to pick that guy. Right. By the way, yeah, that's the right guy to do it, right? He's cheaper. He'll just nick my ear. I know he got cut by the rifle team, but I trust that dude to shoot 3 shots by my head with a full Secret Service detail. Reagan, the Secret Service director on the Hill today, testifying that even though that roof, which I get it, was very slopey. You don't want to be on a slopey roof, was 150 yards away, and that was outside their perimeter.
Wasn't that building within the perimeter that should be secured? Do we agree with that?
The building was outside of the perimeter on the day of the visit. But again, that is one of the things that during the investigation we want to take a look at and determine whether or not other decisions should have been made.
At some point, don't they become a mockery, right? It's like, hey, it was a sloped roof. It was 150 yards, even though it was clear. I just, at some point, I don't know how you get away with saying so many stupid things.
Yeah, you're the Secret Service. You shouldn't be making excuses and saying, oh, yeah, that building was for law enforcement. You should still have your eyes on that building if you're really the Secret Service and in charge of, protecting the president and the former president. Sean, I really think that this is a failure of the Biden administration in terms of not holding the Secret Service accountable and the Secret Service director accountable. Karine Jean-Pierre loves to bring guests into the briefing. She brings John Kirby in every opportunity she gets. If she's, really loves.
Does she bring Kirby or does Kirby just show up? I mean, I think it's kind of, well.
That's fair. Biden's sending Kirby in, really. That's the reality, or whoever's running the Oval Office. But in all seriousness, that the Biden administration should be marching in the director of Secret Service into that press briefing to face a grilling from the press.
Do you think it's because she's Jill's pick?
Yeah, of course. I definitely think that is helping her kind of get by through all of this. We've all seen Jill Biden as kind of the president's caretaker, as the one who's really running the White House, and how her, her influence can go a long way. I believe it's her chief of staff who has been accused of sexual harassment throughout the White House and has gone, is still in his position because nobody has sought to hold him accountable or investigate him. Why? Because he's Jill Biden's favorite, Jill Biden's work husband. So of course, I think that is playing a role in this, and that, the Biden administration should really be pressed more on this as well.
Amber, does she resign?
Gosh, I genuinely don't know. I think obviously the right thing for her to do would be to resign, but she actually has responded to all of this controversy quite similarly to Joe Biden, which is to sort of try to talk her way through it, insist that everything's fine, blame somebody else. I mean, she really did take a page out of her boss's playbook, but things have obviously not resolved because the reality is the Secret Service failed miserably. I mean, talking about the local law enforcement being in charge of that roof, that doesn't even make any sense. If you have counter snipers on other sloped roofs across the way, why would this one roof be under the purview of the local law enforcement? Yeah. And then there were reports that came out just a couple of days ago that the Secret Service declined to participate in a briefing with local law enforcement ahead of the rally. So you can't say it's local law enforcement's fault if you're not even going to communicate with them to do the bare minimum of your job. I think in addition to her being Jill Biden's pet, there probably is also a little bit of a feeling that, they put this woman in, she was the sort of DEI hire, and they don't want to admit that this experiment was a failure.
Yeah, and I will give you my other take, which is I feel like they're like, hey, we're probably going to lose in November. Trump would fire her, so let's just let her ride out the last couple of months. I mean, that's my take on it. Ladies, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. We will obviously break down all of her testimony, the Director of Secret Service, tomorrow on the show, and then give us the latest updates on this Kamala coronation. Appreciate you guys being with us, and we'll check back in with you soon.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet. All right, guys, real quick. Amazing thing. I want to tell you before I bring in Johanna Maska, senior Obama staffer and campaign operative, about this pick. I want to tell you a little bit about the folks at Delta Rescue. They have done amazing work. You've heard me talk about my friend Leo Grillo in the past. Amazing what Leo has done to rescue dogs, cats, you name it, horses. He created a no-kill sanctuary for life. It is not a shelter, a no-kill sanctuary. I've told you before, Leo schools me on that. This is a place that he has built to make sure that dogs and cats that are neglected or abused have a place to get the nutritional and veterinarian care that they need. Go to deltarescue.org to check out the videos. But more importantly, when you're at deltarescue.org, see if you can make a contribution, because this was Leo's brainchild and thought, but he needs our help, completely run on the contributions of people like me and you. And more importantly, if you go to the top corner there, you'll see that estate planning section. He really wants this to be an enduring mission that lasts for generations. Help Leo keep Delta Rescue going by thinking about making Delta Rescue part of your legacy, part of your will, your estate planning. Go to deltarescue.org. All right, let me bring in Johanna Maska, former Obama senior campaign and White House official. Johanna, thanks for being with us. Let me just straight off the bat, how are you feeling? What's the reaction from Democrats about Biden stepping down and Harris? And let's just start with Harris.
So look, what we know right now is that Biden made the gracious decision to recognize that his age has caught up with him and he is going to pass the torch. who takes that torch? I know that the media is anointing Kamala Harris, but there is a process. I mean, Sean, what I love about you, what I love about you,
I
Sean,
am so excited. I want keep going. I knew I was excited to have you on this morning. Keep going.
there is a process. The Democrats are scheduled to meet, I believe it's Wednesday, where they even vote on what that process will be. So I know there have been ideas thrown out, like you have to secure a certain number of delegates to be a contender. You have to, have a significant representation from across the United States to be a contender. There is going to be a process. And whatever that process is, will set up how the Democrats select their candidate.
Okay, so let's start with the Biden part that you talked about.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, you're all trying to he was graciously, but can we be honest? He was pushed. He didn't graciously accept us. Huh?
I disagree with you, Sean, and it's because I saw him at the NATO press conference. I went and saw him after we spoke the last time. I went to that NATO press conference, and I was speaking with aides around him who have been his longtime aides since his Senate days. And some of them, I mean, they know where I stand. And they said, I just wish people would give him the grace to say it himself. He knows. Like, he knows that this was bad. He knows that this is difficult. He knows that he's aging, but I wish that they would give him the grace. So I posted that night that I expected Joe Biden to step aside. And when I found out, I just so happened to be overseas with my family, with my husband, and he gets a text from someone and is like, it was like, I hope Johanna's going to do like a dance. I told you so. Somewhere, abroad right now. It was the wrong location to be when all of this news is breaking. Okay, I'd rather be in the United States right now. But
I want to focus on the future. But the one last thing,
we're going to focus on the future.
For all the infighting stories that we got in the Trump administration, I mean, I get it that your point may be true. I don't know his entire thinking, right? But how Pelosi treated him, and frankly, your old boss, Obama, at least from the reporting, does not seem like a friend that you would want to have. I mean, for all the stuff about the Trump administration, the level of infighting, etc., it did not seem as though, I mean, this seems like they shivved the guy politically over and over again.
Oh, Sean, Trump would have shivved via tweet. At least Joe Biden got to put the tweet out himself. That's the difference. I mean, but legit, like, Nancy Pelosi, obviously she passed the torch and she saw how that worked. I think there were a lot of people who were also trying to be on his side and tell him that we have other options.
All right, so let's move on to, I was very intrigued by just now how you described the process. Mm-hmm. As a Republican waking up and reading the tea leaves, and I've been, again, I'm not a Democrat. I don't know your party and your rules and all this stuff. That's why I think it's very helpful that you're explaining this to us. But if somebody was going to challenge her, at least at this point, they would float their name, wouldn't they? I mean, I get your point in terms of the process. Yeah. But do you, as an operative, think that there is any viable alternative to her? Could RFK jump back in the Democratic race? Could a governor that we're not talking about? I mean, I think the top tier folks have already endorsed her.
So Wes Moore, I had not seen endorse yet. Which is an interesting one, Sean, because Wes Moore was also
governor of Maryland.
Governor of Maryland. He actually served in the Bush administration as a White House fellow. He had been in the military and was brought in for his military service. He was asked to come in. I have always thought Wes Moore is very interesting, and I have not seen him endorse. Oprah, of course, is a big one on his side. And so I thought, let's see how this shakes out. J.B. Pritzker, I don't want him to run. I'm sorry. Illinois has problems. Governor of Illinois, Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, I don't want him to run. I'm actually happy that he's boxed out by Kamala Harris. I think she's actually much better. I live in California, but I'm a Midwesterner at heart. And I would say she's more in line with a Midwestern more middle of the road sentiment than Gavin Newsom is. And Gavin was also married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, who you guys have now. So like weird bedfellows.
It's a trade.
Kamala's good. So no, I think Wes is someone who I've got my eyes out for. Josh Shapiro did already endorse Kamala, as did Gretchen Whitmer, as I understand, and Mark Kelly did as well. Mark Kelly, I think, would also be a very good candidate, but I haven't seen Wes Moore. So that's one I'm paying attention to.
Look, I will tell you this. I think Wes Moore in 4 years, once he's got a full term as governor, will be very formidable. I mean, that guy, to your point, strong military record, very well. When I say well-spoken, he's got sort of an orator quality to him, an everyday kind of guy that fought in the. I mean, like, I when he speaks, he commands attention.
Yeah.
And he's got the background with the mill. I mean, like, he's just a guy. Like, there are politicians, you and I both can agree on both sides, that have presence. When they walk in a room, people kind of pay attention. I think Wes Moore is one of those guys. When he walks in, he commands a room. But I think I would have a hard time right now if Wes Moore politically, let's just put the resume aside for a second. He's been governor for a hot minute. I think it would be hard for him to put a national team together to challenge the sitting vice president that has all the endorsements that she has. And so that being said,
she has Hillary Clinton. She has a lot of the sitting leadership. But let's just be clear that Hillary Clinton had all those things when Barack Obama jumped in. So if there is anything behind the scenes, and this is why I don't know, but if there's anything behind the scenes and he asks like, hey, who should I have for my team through these different people? He's actually got a lot of our former team already around him. And so I don't think it's too far-fetched. Let's see what he does.
I got to be honest with you. I am shocked. I'm shocked at how far you're willing to go. I've literally said it's hers, it's locked up, it's done. Let me just ask you this, though. For every Republican, I am the people on the right that are talking about Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton. I say you're selling snake oil to people.
Agreed.
You say what?
Yes, you're right.
Thank
Sean
you.
Spicer is right. It is snake oil. Michelle Obama doesn't want the job.
Thank you.
Hillary Clinton already ran against Trump and lost. There's no way people are going back to Hillary Clinton. You know, the thing I would say, Sean, is that if it is Kamala Harris, and there will be a process, I don't know what that process is going to look like, but there will be. If it is Kamala Harris, you know, Nikki Haley, I remember when she first got in the race as a Republican this time around, and I thought, oh my God, she's going to be smushed. And I was surprised. You know, it wasn't the Trump people who were really, you know, gravitating towards her, but a more moderate middle did. So I'm not sure that I would write off Kamala Harris's chances. I think she may end up being a very formidable candidate against Donald Trump, especially if she does lean into her more moderate upbringing, which is, you know, California is a politically nepotistic state. California can be crazy. It's like Kansas, where Republicans control the state. So you have the moderates and you have the liberals. Kamala was in the moderate camp. A lot of the liberals didn't like Kamala because she was a prosecutor and she was at times very tough on crime.
But how would your base? I get what you're saying, right? Let's just put that aside for a second and let's assume for the sake of debate that what you're saying is accurate. Okay. And I'm just saying I don't know her record as well as you do. That being said, how would your progressive wing react to her talking about prosecuting drug dealers and truancy and all these things that she did as a DA and maybe as AG? I mean, I think your base would go nuts.
Well, where are they going to go, Sean? Because that's what I've been watching is some of those progressive folks who I've talked to on my podcast or the like, they're posting their pictures with Kamala Harris today. And they're saying, you know, that they've had conversations with her about their differences and that they're thrilled that she's carrying the torch. I mean, those folks who I am looking at, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, are they going to go somewhere else? I don't think they have anywhere else to go, and they're not going to go to Donald Trump. I mean, it's RFK Jr. is not a viable option for those kinds of people.
No, I agree. I think the irony, by the way, it's not lost. I wonder if RFK is kicking himself. I should have stayed in the Democratic Party because I could legitimately lay claim to some delegates at this point, maybe. I don't
mean,
know.
Joe Manchin may be kicking himself, I
Oh,
guess.
Joe, listen, I got to be honest with you.
Maybe.
Joe Manchin, not only he was a what's that, whatever your equivalent is for Democrat in name only.
Yes.
And I don't think that the delegates, which are Biden delegates, would ever warm to a Joe Manchin. But let me just, you brought this up a second ago, and I want to touch on this. Kamala Harris, let's just, again, assume for the sake of the show that she's your nominee. I think it's a done deal. So that's just all cards on the table. Are you concerned about her political prowess? I mean, this is a woman who didn't even make it to Iowa when you guys had your 2020 primaries. And she dropped out, which says to me, not enough people liked me. Not enough people thought my message was good. And so suddenly now she has become your standard bearer, not because she was the choice of the people, but by default.
Well, she dropped out so early, we didn't actually find out how she.
No, she dropped out because she had no support. I mean, she didn't drop. She wasn't like, "Hey guys, I'm getting 40% here in Iowa, but peace out." I mean, she dropped out.
Polls were not on her side, but the women my family members, my more moderate aunts in the middle of the country were really excited about Kamala Harris, and so we never actually saw whether she was going to resonate because she dropped out early and gracefully exited and, then got brought in as vice president, which, that job, you don't shine. That's a job specifically designed not to shine.
Okay. So if Harris calls you today and says, Johanna, what do I need to accentuate that differentiates me from Joe Biden? What is it that she should, I got to be honest with you. I think her work I would go completely policy-wise. Here's what you did on the border. Here's all the things that you were tasked with and some of the crazy stuff that you said. What would you tell her that she should accentuate to highlight her differences and her individuality vis-a-vis Biden?
Well, she's dealt with the complex. Donald Trump is a very,
No. Give me some issues. Unburdened by the past. Coconuts falling from the sky.
You guys may regret that one. We'll see how that actually shakes out. But I would say focus on, governing is more complex than an all caps. We're going to see the largest mass deportation in our history. That means we're going to throw children's families out of this country and have to put those children.
I hope she calls you. God bless you. Oh my God. Sean. I'm going to give her your number. I'm going to get, call Johanna Maska because if you want to campaign on the border and you want to talk, Donald Trump is going to crush that message and the American people are with him. So if you guys want to go on immigration.
Do you think, Sean, that Americans don't recognize that our country's history is one of immigration? That
no. They do. You should please have at it. Please.
Yes.
God bless you.
Yes.
Campaign on immigration.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you, Sean, for all you guys, yelling and screaming in Texas, we're handling our border in California. And the thing is, you laugh.
I do.
Because
this is funny.
Because we have not reformed immigration for 30 years?
Oh my God.
My whole adult life, we haven't reformed immigration. And we're blaming it all on the Democrats, even though the Republicans had a bill on the table that they just didn't sign because of, politics. They just decided not to, even go there.
Oh, please. Honest to God, I've got 4 things I need to talk to you about before we wrap this. And
we have to turn everything you guys are throwing against us on its head. Because
oh my God,
this is twice as much he added to
I thought this was going to be harder. I actually thought this
Sean, it's going to be so fun. You guys are speaking in your silo.
All right, I got to move on.
I got to know.
The entertainment part of the show is over. Let me ask you this. Explain to the viewers why we haven't heard from Barack Obama right now.
Barack Obama has always been one who has waited to chime in. He waited even when everyone was giving advice to give the right questions. So he's going to wait and see who wants to get in this race before chiming in.
So we shouldn't read anything into the fact that he's not endorsed her outright.
No. I mean, in fact, she was called to be attorney general at one point during our administration. So there's nothing there's no bad blood. There's nothing there other than he's waiting to see the process shake out.
Okay, so you guys, and I'm being serious when I say this, you guys just want to allow people to believe, and I'm not trying to be.
Not allow them to believe. Wes Moore could get in. I don't know. Yeah, I actually would think it's great if he does.
But I mean, but just look again. I'm not trying to be contentious here. I think that the idea is to show. Correct me if I'm wrong. That it's an open process. Wes Moore could have jumped in. Anybody could have. And wow, it's only her. I mean, right? It's the idea is to.
I hope it's not. I hope we have other candidates.
Are you kidding? God bless. Wow, I am so excited. Thank you. This is all right. Let me ask you this. I want to hit another thing with you.
You guys can have your little anointment Republican National Convention where you don't have your former, vice president there.
Yeah, a lot of people asking about where Mike Pence was.
It's completely this populist rabble rouser, and it appeals to a certain demographic. And certainly low information voters don't know that Trump led to this inflation.
By the way, it wasn't just me. Van Jones and a bunch of Democrats said it was the best convention in modern history. And
I don't have never spoken for Democrats. I don't know when Republicans are going to figure that out.
Okay, I listen. I will tell you this. I don't put a ton of stock in State of the Unions conventions but it was hands down, in my opinion, the best convention in modern history. Now you guys get to go second, so maybe you can outdo us. I doubt it.
It's going to be interesting. Okay, we haven't talked about the assassination attempt, and we should at some point, Sean, because that was crazy, and I cannot.
I agree, and I'm going to. Okay, let me ask you this: a lot of calls on the right, and I want you to give me your take on this. I've made my case very clear. There are people on the right who want Barack Obama to resign. Should he resign, and why? What would be the pluses and minuses to that?
I think you mean Joe Biden.
Joe Biden
instead of Barack Obama. But I love that
I'll take Obama resigning too.
I love that you said Barack Obama because everyone thinks that Barack Obama is somehow controlling and manipulating the White House. And those of us
those of
us who work for him.
You brought it up, not me.
To get back involved in anything other than his Netflix movies. But no, I think when they call for Joe Biden to resign, it's just not fair. I saw him.
No, fair or not. Hold on, Johanna, fair or not. Tell me why, if you have people on the right, members of Congress
because he's capable. Because he's capable. I saw him command rooms at NATO with world leaders. He is still doing the work. I thought, it's really too bad that he has always had gaffe after gaffe and that he steps in it when he's introducing Zelensky as Putin and talking about Vice President.
But the funny thing is,
Donald Trump. It was like, no.
We may disagree on that as well, but I will tell you, I think my angle has always been political. I don't know. I wouldn't want to run against a President Harris who anyway, let's move on for a second. I want to ask you real quick. Are you concerned logistically about what this means campaign infrastructure and convention wise, or do you think there's enough time for the Democrats to do all the things they need to do to shift the infrastructure, the staffing, et cetera, over to Kamala if she's the nominee?
Some countries manage entire election seasons.
And we're not them. We're not them.
I mean, I wish. I would love to be. Yes, we have the time. You're already seeing people show up in Harris 2024 shirts. They're gonna, they're dealing with the logistics. Jen O'Malley Dillon has already done an all call. You guys need to stay with us. They're
but all right, let me ask you this.
Gonna leave.
You've been at the senior level of campaigns. Yeah. Let's just pretend for a second that you're in that boat right now. You're on, instead of the Obama campaign, you're in the Biden. That comes right now. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go? Do you worry about your job? Because you mentioned Jen O'Malley. If I were the Kamala team, I don't know that I'd want them.
So actually, I think absolutely she was already involved in the campaign. I mean, I had met with a number of them and Kamala Harris was very involved in the campaign already. So I'm not it's not that big of a difference for them. And anyone who was working for Joe Biden was already also working for Kamala Harris. So right now they are under the presumption that they're working for Kamala Harris. Unless that would change by virtue of an open convention, then they will still be working for Kamala Harris. And now, honestly, Sean, most of them are just more energized because before it was deflating when you had a candidate who couldn't compete against someone who was calling our country a failing nation. America is not a failing nation.
Okay, last question. If you could, let's assume for the sake of argument, it is Kamala Harris, because it will be. Who does she pick for vice president and why?
Mark Kelly or Josh Shapiro? Those are my two choices. And
I think I'm with you on that. I think I'm with you. Tell me why, and why not a Roy Cooper of North Carolina, for example?
So Mark Kelly actually is strong on immigration. So talking about one area where she actually hasn't been in charge of it, but has probably had the tie with Biden choices. No, she hasn't. She actually was more in charge of it when she was California, and she was working with some people to try to keep people from coming into California. But no, I think that Mark Kelly would be strong because he's won a border state. He understands the complexities of those issues. He's also a veteran. He is married to Gabby Giffords. Gabby Giffords survived an assassination attempt. She's been huge in the gun violence community, talking about solutions to lessen guns on our streets. I think they could be a dynamic duo to add to that ticket. Josh Shapiro, for obvious reasons, he's from Pennsylvania. But also, when you hear Josh Shapiro, he is one of those people who, like Wes Moore, commands a room, and in Pennsylvania has drawn a lot of people to that. Yes, we can move forward with a new economy mindset.
You know, the thing about Shapiro is I know a lot of Republicans in Pennsylvania that like him. I don't know him, and I don't, but I will say it's interesting because the dynamic is that there's a lot of these guys that I know that say he is a Democrat that we can like. I don't know him. I don't buy into that. But, you know, at the end of the day, if he could carry Pennsylvania, I think that would go a long way. Johanna, our time is short. I appreciate your kind generosity with it today. I know you're traveling, so thank you for being with us and giving us your perspective, because frankly, right now, this is huge. This is a historic moment politically. And I think having the understanding of what's going on inside the other side matters. So I appreciate you making time for us.
Likewise. Wonderful to join you, Sean. Always wonderful to see you.
All right. Travel safe.
Bye-bye.
Great conversation there. Continue to subscribe. Hit those notification buttons, YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and always hit that notification button because you never know when we're getting live. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Sean Spicer Show. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.